Thank you for watching another edition of Inside the Pylon. Fidel Barraza here alongside Chris Arzola. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, good evening. How you doing today?
Good, man. How are you?
Pretty good, man. It's been a long week. Week 5 is already here. It's insane how fast the NFL season's been going already.
Yeah, we got the Chicago Bears visiting the Washington Commanders on Thursday Night Football. We'll go over that game here in a bit. But first, Chris, let's talk about week 4 in the NFL. Let's talk about the most anticipated game of the week between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, what a game. I mean, the I don't know, it was really good to see for me. I think, looking at the stats and seeing that Josh Allen is not the leading rusher for, the Buffalo Bills really shows that this year they are doing things a little bit differently. It's not just a Josh Allen show, and I think it's allowing him to play more freely. And honestly, he's since that first game that they kind of didn't look the same as the Bills from last year. I think they're honestly probably the top 3, top 4 team right now in the NFL. The way they've been playing for the past several weeks.
Chris, and me and you both picked, I believe it was Miami to upset Buffalo in Buffalo, and we were obviously wrong. A lot of people were kind of down on Buffalo just because of what happened in Week 1. But they won 3 games in a row, and that offense is humming, and that defense playing pretty good. And they might have Von Miller back here pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking great. Like I said, I mean, I think the fact that they're just playing Bills football, and I mean it's Josh Allen leading the way. But again, now that the fact that they have a running game, they haven't had a running game the entire time that Josh Allen's been there. And I think this is just adding some flexibility. I mean, there's a lot of times where I'm seeing Stephon Diggs. I mean, he has a lot of space and he's open a lot of times, right? So that's telling me that that they're packing the box because they're worried about the run game right now, not just with Josh Allen, but obviously the running backs in the back. And I think that just adds another flair and another dynamic to the Bills overall. But yeah, they're definitely in the top 3 for me right now, top 4 in the NFL right now for sure.
Yeah, Chris, and it looks like the AFC East is still Buffalo's.
I don't see anybody else taking it quite yet. I mean, the Dolphins are right there, but we saw kind of what happened. We saw what happened. I think Jalen Ramsey, that could be a thing too that a lot of people haven't really talked about, but they definitely miss him in the back, in that backfield for the Dolphins, and so um, until the Bills are beaten, it's the Bills division for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a two-team race now that Aaron Rodgers is not with the Jets anymore, or
Yeah.
not that he's not with them, but he's hurt and on the sideline. So,
Yep.
the one bad thing that happened to Buffalo on Sunday was Tre'Davious White, I believe, he tore his Achilles and is going to be out for the remainder of the year. So that's a
Yeah.
big blow to that
It
defense.
is.
But he's been out essentially. Last year he was almost out a year, or he was
Yeah.
out a year.
Yeah.
So after tearing his ACL, I believe it was Thanksgiving night against the New Orleans Saints a couple years
hmm
back.
Yeah, I mean, so they're used to not kind of having him, unfortunately, on the field for the past couple years. But yeah, I mean, once they get Von Miller, I mean, it's just going to be another dynamic to that defense. And like I said, man, since week 1, they have probably been the hottest team in the NFL right now, and they're it's definitely led by the defense and Josh Allen.
So this was, a game that a lot of people were looking, forward to. Probably the best game of Week 4. Another game that a lot of people thought might be a blowout was between Kansas City and New York Jets on Sunday Night Football.
hmm
I believe Kansas City jumped to a 17-0 lead. Jets came back.
Yep.
Zach Wilson played pretty well, Chris, besides a mistake at the end fumbling the ball.
Yeah, I mean, he showed why they did draft him the way they drafted him. I mean, he went 28 for 39, 245 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So not only was these stats tell me that he wasn't just game manager, right? 39 throws in 39 throws, and Brees Hall only had 6 carries. That was their leading rusher for the night. That just tells me right there that he was actually not a game manager. He was playing more freely, and that's how Zach likes to play, right? He's kind of like a little bit of a gunslinger. Again, yes, he will get in some trouble sometimes, but obviously he has the ability to get out of trouble with his feet and stuff like that. But to me, this shows that he wasn't a game manager. He was feeling a little bit more freely. Yes, they started off terrible, But I mean, they made a fantastic comeback towards the end, and again, it showed that he does have talent. And at the end of the game, one of the things that I saw, there was some lip reading stuff on, on Instagram and stuff like that, and he was, telling his teammates that, he was the reason for the reason
Yeah.
why they lost the game, and I thought that showed a lot of maturity. And we did talk a little bit more about maturity with him earlier
Hmm.
this season, as just far as when you're the quarterback, you're a leader of amongst men. It's not boys anymore, and so I think that showed a lot, and that was one of the reasons why the locker room kind of got lost last year for the Jets with Zach Wilson, just because he couldn't show that maturity. So to me, that showed a lot of maturity. You saw a lot of people come up to him, give him, hey, shake it off, blah blah blah. Next week, different things like that. And I think that's just going to be a confidence booster for him going forward.
Chris, since you said shake it off, I have to bring up Taylor Swift now. Right? Look, am I the only one? I'm getting pretty tired of hearing about Taylor Swift and
I
Travis
mean,
Kelsey.
Travis, yeah, exactly. He just, he came out a couple hours ago and he said that he thought the NFL was going a little too crazy on this whole Taylor Swift thing.
Well,
Yeah, I
Chris, you
mean,
saw what the NFL did, right? I believe it was on their Instagram or Twitter. They put 2-0 since Taylor Swift or the Swifties. I don't know, something
yeah,
on there, essentially. And there was a really bad call during that game. Towards the end of the game, I think it was a pass interference or holding call against Sauce Gardner.
Sauce, yeah.
Yeah, and then for the NFL to put that out there, it just didn't look good. And I believe Sauce Gardner made tweeted something out like, "Hey, maybe if I was a Swifty, I would have got that call."
Yeah, no, he definitely came out, and he was actually in an interview too. He was talking a little bit about that, about how, he was doing nothing different than what he was doing the entire game,
It was a
right?
bad
And
call.
then yeah, and then they that's the one thing with the referees. You never want to be the reason why the game ends up the way it is, right? You want the players to play it out, right? For if there's going to be something, a mistake or something happen, at least that the players are playing it out, not you as the referee calling a certain call that ends the game the way it ends the game. I think that's a bad look for the NFL.
Yeah, I'm just kind of over it hearing about Taylor Swift. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
we,
I mean, good for Travis. I mean, but I mean, yeah, I think it's just a little too much. And let's get back to playing football and let him be. His personal life, let us be. But I mean, I know she's definitely is the most talked about woman for sure in the world right now with her tour and everything like that. So.
yeah. Chris, let's talk about the other New York team, the New York Giants. How bad did they look on Monday night against Seattle?
I'm laughing because anybody that's listened to me several times, they know exactly how I felt about this team coming in. I just did not think that was a great, call by paying Daniel Jones $40 million a year. I mean, you saw. I said from the very beginning, if Saquon Barkley is not healthy and he's not playing, this is not the same team, because Daniel Jones cannot. He just can't take. He's not a Josh Allen. Josh Allen, right? We've seen it for several years. He had no running game. He put it all on his back. He led them to, a couple of AFC championship games, right? And in deep into some playoff runs in some other years. And Daniel Jones is just not built like that, man. He's just not built like that. He's a game manager. I mean, you saw the stats at times last year. He was throwing the ball 15 times. Like, how do you pay a $40 million quarterback, that's throwing the ball 15 times? And now we see it. He has some talent. Don't get me wrong. He does have some talent. I just don't think that he is a $40 million talent.
Chris, do you know how many points the Giants have scored at home this season?
I know it's not much.
3 points.
Oh my gosh. I knew it
Three
was something
points.
like that. I knew it was something like that. Yeah, that's that's horrible. That's horrible.
Yeah, and in prime time, week one against the Dallas Cowboys, and
Yeah.
then last week in Seattle. Yeah, 3 points
Mhm.
at home. And,
Yeah,
and look, it's
that's
not all
brutal.
on Daniel Jones. The offensive line issues, injuries. Saquon
Injuries.
Barkley's out.
Yeah.
Saquon was a
Darren
huge part of this offense last year,
yeah, Darren Waller got injured now too, so
but they're not even
um
getting him involved, Chris.
they
It's
weren't.
it's it's like Kyle Pitts in Atlanta.
Oh gosh, that's a
He's
terrible
being and look, and I
situation for
have him
him
in my
too.
fantasy football team. I'm like, shit, just throw him the ball.
Yeah, I mean that kid is so talented over there too. He's just not being
It's
utilized
going to waste.
in the right way. Yeah, it's I feel bad for Kyle Pitts for sure. So yeah, I know I hear you. The offensive line definitely played well. The defense kind of didn't play as well as they kind of should have. Their defensive line is has been great, but anything else beyond that, it hasn't been great in for the defensive backs for the Giants recently in the past couple of weeks. And so I don't know. They're really struggling. I know it's not all Daniel Jones' fault, but again, it starts with the quarterback when you're paying him $40 million a year, and you're just getting the production that you're getting. It's not enough to be a $40 million quarterback. I know that's the market or what that's looking like, but you know what? There's quarterbacks out there that are capable, such as like a Baker Mayfield or someone like that that could probably play a little bit better than what Daniel Jones has been playing right now. So
And I'm glad you brought up Baker Mayfield because I want to talk about the team that surprised me the most so far this season with the first quarter of the year. It's been the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield's been playing great.
yeah.
They got a big win against New Orleans, and
Hmm.
now they're 3-1 going into the bye week.
Yeah, yeah, no one's seen that coming because I mean, I didn't. I picked the Saints, man. I like how the Saints have been playing and been rolling, and I said, you know what, they're getting back. They're getting back a couple of different people and stuff that were on the injured
Alvin
list.
Kamara came back from
Yeah,
suspension.
Alvin Kamara that was on the suspension list. So I was like, you know what, this team is only getting better. Their defense is, bringing back a couple of defensive backers that were injured. Alvin Kamara is coming off. I said, I want the Saints. Right, and I've been liking the way Baker's been playing. He's been showing a lot of grit out there, and their defense is their defense is stellar,
They're playing,
man. Their
man.
their defense, yeah,
They're
their
playing
defense is
hard.
stellar. But no, I mean the fact that the connection between Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield has been great. I mean Baker's been showing why he was the number one pick, several years back, and um, he did play well when he was with the Browns too. He had some good years. It just some things kind of happened with him and OBJ, and from there it just kind of stopped clicking. But I mean, he did show that he had some talent in the first couple of years. I mean, he was very accurate with his throwing, and that's what Baker's always been known for.
Yeah, Mike Evans did suffer a hamstring injury, so I know he was going to get an
Yeah,
MRI. But they don't sound too concerned about the injury, so I think he should be good moving forward.
yeah, I haven't heard anything too crazy. From what I'm reading too, it looks like he should probably be a go this weekend.
Yeah. How about the Minnesota Vikings getting the first one of the year? It looked ugly, man. I think Kirk
I was just
Cousins
about to
got
say
picked
that.
off, and it was like a 99-yard return for a touchdown.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just didn't look pretty, but at the end they were able to pull it off.
yeah. I mean, but I mean, 21-13 against the Panthers, man. Come on. Like the Panthers have been probably one of the worst teams in the
Oh
NFL,
yeah,
right? I mean, we talked about it on our last episode. Bryce Young needs someone to throw to. I mean, this is getting ridiculous out there. I
yeah.
mean, the guy can't do it on his own again. I mean, there has to be someone catching the ball on the other side. So, you did mention that they were looking to possibly acquire a big
Yeah,
time name, and
yeah,
I hope that's coming soon. you know,
Yeah, I mean, I believe there was a report earlier this week that they are determined to trade for a number one receiver. Who that is going to be, I don't know, because there's not really much out there. A lot of rumors about Mike Evans being. They're not going to get traded. They're in first place in that division.
they're not going to trade him. They're not going to trade him to someone inside the division too. There's just absolutely no way.
Yeah.
The other name that comes to mind is not a number one wide receiver, but from all indications, Che Claypool might be done.
Oh, he's the Chris. No one is
Yeah,
going to trade for him because they know that if no one trades for him, Chicago is going to end up cutting this guy.
well, that's what I'm saying. I think
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen. I think that he's going to get cut, and I think that there's probably a good chance that he can get claimed off of, off the waivers and stuff like that. And I mean, I don't know what his situation is there. I'm not going to speculate anything like that. Obviously, it seems like he's been unhappy or whatever the case may be. Obviously, we've seen the play there. It's you know Justin Fields can't get the ball out of his hand. I mean, the line's just not giving him enough time, different things like that. So I understand where he's coming from, but I don't know what's going to happen. But he could be an opportunity to come in and play for the Panthers, possibly add a little bit of depth there. But they need to get Bryce somehow for sure.
Yeah, they do. Chris, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. Probably the most disappointing team so far this season. They're 1-3. They just don't look right out there. Joe Burrow. I mean, I know he's got the calf issue. Yeah, I believe they said that he has no issues supposedly running the offense due to injury. that he's
Hmm.
healthy, but Chris, he's not healthy. You can tell he's not moving around
No,
the same.
for sure, absolutely not. He's not moving around. He's not pushing off on his throws. When you saw him in a lot of his throws last week, I mean, there was not any behind it, right? And I mean, Joe's never had the strongest arm, obviously, in the NFL, but he can make all the throws,
He's an
right?
elite quarterback
And the
in the league,
fact that
Chris.
he's missing some of those throws, exactly. That's so I'm saying one of the missing one of those throws like that, it just shows that he can't push off. He's definitely not the same Burrow. But I mean, this division right now, man, they're all playing well. They're all playing well. I just don't think in their mind if Joe sits out, whatever 3 to 5 weeks, I just don't think they feel like they have enough time to be just kind of giving away 3 to 5 weeks. I feel.
Hey, look, and they might not have any time anymore. Look, they're traveling Arizona to play the Cardinals, a team that me and you felt like they're going to be the worst team in football. Chris, they're playing hard with Josh Dobbs, and especially at home. They just beat Dallas a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing great. I mean, yeah, everybody, not just us, everybody felt when they're bringing Josh Dobbs in literally like a week before the season started, right? Everybody was saying that they're tanking. It's a Caleb Williams thing. They're going to get rid of, whoever they need to get rid of to make sure that they bring Caleb Williams in. They're going to tank the season, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, honestly, they have not been that at all. I mean, Josh Dobbs has been playing out of his mind. He's been just producing, and honestly, they're fighting hard, man, and they're giving it all they got, and they're definitely not the worst team in the league, that's for sure.
Yeah, so it's a must win. Joe Burrow came out and said, "Hey, this is a must. It feels like a must win for
Yeah.
us, right, in
Yep.
Arizona." So we'll see what happens with that. Let's talk about a little bit about the New England Patriots. So a couple of
Mhm.
key injuries to that defense.
Yeah.
Matthew Judon, he's going to be out for the year. Looks like Christian Gonzalez, a promising rookie out of Oregon, he's
Yep.
going to be out. He's going to be out for the year. I believe he's got a shoulder
Yeah.
injury.
Torn
So
labrum.
yeah, so JC Jackson of the Chargers, we saw, he was benched, he was inactive. Essentially, like there's something going on there. So the
Mhm.
Patriots ended up trading for JC Jackson,
Mhm.
for I believe Chris for a 5th round pick.
Yeah. Yep.
So now he's back in New England. Definitely kind of tells you that New England's still trying to win some football games.
Yeah, I mean, I was just reading a little bit more about J.C. Jackson. So the Chargers' final tally on J.C. Jackson 38.5 million for 21 games on the roster.
Chris, and I believe they still are going to pay the majority of that salary, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah, no, you're right. So their cap charge for for this year is 11.5 million. Next year will be 19 million that they'll
Mhm.
be paying to him as well in 2024.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
Chris, if it doesn't work out in New England, essentially Patriots can cut ties during the offseason with JC Jackson and not pay anything, essentially.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and Bill's bringing him for a reason, right? Obviously, their number one cornerback Christian Gonzalez is out. J.C. Jackson again. We don't know his situation, what was going on in
He,
in L.A. for the
he,
Chargers.
yeah,
So
so
go
and
ahead.
then also he had like I forget a warrant for like a ticket, like I don't know, some stupid ticket, but it
Yeah,
just wasn't working out there.
yeah,
They just
and
didn't know how to use him, Chris.
sometimes a fresh start is what people need. You know what I mean? And if
He should have never left for the money.
yeah,
What I mean, if
exactly.
that's, but he left obviously because of the money. He wanted to get
Yeah,
paid. I don't blame
for
him,
sure.
right?
Yeah,
Everyone wants to get paid, but
everybody
the
wants to get
grass
paid.
isn't always green on the other side, Chris. So J.C. Jackson back with New England Patriots.
Yeah, but hey, good pickup. Let's see what happens, and let's see if he can turn his career around. And whatever happened here in LA, whatever it's long in the past now, and he gets a fresh start back in New England.
Yeah, Chris. Before we move on and talk about Thursday night football, Week 5 in the NFL,
Yeah.
we got to talk about our Las Vegas Raiders, man. What a shit show. Um, there was a
Oh.
lot of things going on, Chris. I mean, obviously they lost to the Chargers.
Hmm.
Ian O'Connell, yeah, I think he lost 3 fumbles. Just
Yeah.
ugly game. They couldn't block Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack got 6 sacks. He hadn't
Six
had a sack
sacks.
before this season.
Yeah, I
He
know.
had 6 sacks in
Yeah.
one day. So um, that happened, and then Aiden O'Connell made some plays towards the end of the game.
Hmm.
He got him in the red zone, and I think they were at the 3 yard line. And for whatever reason, the play call was to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Asante Samuel Jr. jumped the route and picked him off, and game
Yep.
over.
Yep.
Instead of
Game
handing
over.
off the ball to Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean that's reminds me of a play that happened in the Super Bowl with Marshawn
Yeah,
Lynch, if you
that's what I
remember
thought
that.
about. That's what
Exactly.
exactly when it
You know what I'm
happened.
saying?
I thought
You
about
know what
the
I'm
same
saying?
thing.
Yeah, I'm like, you have one of the best backs in the NFL behind this rookie.
Yeah,
I mean, why would you put the ball in the rookie's hands, right, when you have a superstar running back right behind him? You know,
Chris, it was
you're on the
first
three
down.
yard line.
It
On
was
the three
first
yard line.
down.
Yeah, exactly. On the 3 yard line, and you're going to put it in the hands of Aiden O'Connell. I said right off the bat that I think what's going to set the difference apart between us winning and not is Aiden O'Connell and his grasp of the offense, right? And I just think what we saw in the preseason just was a real minimal playbook. And obviously when it comes to being in the regular season, you're the number one quarterback. That's a very complex offense. And so I just felt like he didn't have a real good grasp in his hand. Everything was going so fast for him. He didn't have obviously no time with Khalil Mack breathing down his neck, pretty much the entire game. So, honestly, Aiden made some good plays towards the end for sure. He definitely saw some promise there, and what we kind of saw in the preseason. But I just think the game was moving too fast for him.
Yeah, and look, it was first start. I mean, I don't blame him. Look, they couldn't
Yeah,
block for him.
first learn.
They weren't
Yeah,
doing him any favors, right?
they weren't.
But to me, right now, best chance for the Raiders to moving forward for them to win football games. They need Jimmy Garoppolo back in there.
Yeah,
Um, and man, we thought the offense was going to be outstanding this season. Jimmy knows the system, this and that.
yeah.
And guess what? That's been one of the biggest struggles on this team has been the offense.
Hmm.
And you saw the video, right, of the fans yelling at Mark Davis to
Oh
fire
yeah,
Josh McDaniels. He
yeah.
responds back to smarten up. It's getting ugly, Chris. And look, let me tell you something. If they lose on Monday Night Football against the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love, no offense, Jordan Love, but if you lose to Jordan Love, it's going to get worse than what it did last week in LA.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the fans are going to continue to stand for this.
No,
I mean,
Chris, they
come
want
on. I
Josh
mean,
McDaniels gone.
yeah, I mean,
My
I'm
question to
just.
you, though, Chris, if they do fire Josh McDaniels, who steps in to be head coach during the season? Rob Ryan?
I mean, that's a tough one. Maybe Rob Ryan, but I mean, I don't know, man. That's just a tough call. I mean, I totally get it, and you know what? Bringing in McDaniel's and bringing in what's the GM's name off the top?
Dave
I can
Ziegler.
Yeah, Dave Ziegler. So bringing in Ziegler and trying to make it more of like the Patriots way over here. I think that's just not what the Raiders do. That's just not how they work. And
But Chris,
um,
I don't mean to cut you off, but
you're
to me,
good.
it wasn't the New England way because they traded for Devontae Adams. That was one of the first things they did when they got to Las Vegas.
Well, they needed a star, and of course they were going to bring someone in to with Derek Carr. But I mean, I just think that it's just not working out specifically on how things are going. I think some of the things that happened when John Gruden was here, some of the draft picks and stuff like that, I think that kind of handcuffed the Raiders for the past couple of years, just because of we lost some key players, obviously some big time people that whether it was due to just they couldn't play
Yeah,
or stupid draft picks, like Alex Leather, is it Leatherwood, right?
Leatherwood. Yeah, he's not even on the
Obviously
team
he's not
anymore.
even on the team anymore, right?
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Like, I just think that when John Gruden was here, we were kind of still suffering some of those losses, just because I
yeah,
mean, again, obviously Henry Ruggs was producing, and obviously we know his situation. So I don't know. I just feel like they're a little bit handcuffed, and I think one of the things though I would take that I enjoyed seeing was Hunter Renfro being a little bit more involved.
a little
You
bit
know,
more, not
you
much.
know, not much, but a little bit more. There were some sightings there, right? And I was extremely happy that they're at least starting to look at him. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be one of the biggest things, the keys going forward for our offenses, is to get Hunter the ball more. It's going to free up um, Devontae Adams on the outside. So
Yeah, and then look, man, there's people out there already talking about the Raiders having the first overall draft pick in next year's draft or this year's draft, whichever way you want to see it, in
mhm,
2024. That's a loser's mentality. It's
yeah,
barely going to be week 5. This team has 3 winnable games coming
yeah,
up.
Yeah,
They can
absolutely.
turn this around.
They can turn it around. I mean, they're like I said, we need Jimmy Garoppolo back. We need him on the field. I mean, I think it starts off with him. Like I said, we cannot continue to have Aiden O'Connell in here. I just don't think he's quite ready yet. So if we're gonna win, I think that's where it's going to start off. So we got the Green Bay Packers coming up, and then also the New England Patriots right after that, and then on Week 7 we're against the Chicago Bears. So I mean, I think those are all three winnable games. We need the defense to just kind of, or excuse me, the offense to step up. And again, it starts with Jimmy Garoppolo, feed the ball to Josh Jacobs. Let's get back to the old, way of just ground and pound, and then some play action throws to Devontae Adams. So
Yeah, and guess what? They won 3 in a row. They're 4-3, and they're back in the mix.
yeah, absolutely, no, for sure. Especially with with some struggles that I feel like the Chargers are kind of going through with some injuries and stuff like that. I mean,
Well,
there's
Chris,
definitely a chance. Yeah.
Justin Herbert, I believe broke his index finger on his non-throwing hand.
Yep.
You saw
Fractured
it. He
finger.
cannot do it under center anymore. He cannot go under center anymore. They're gonna have to run shotgun for the foreseeable future. They have a bye
Yeah.
week this week though, so that's
Yeah.
gonna help a little bit.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. That looked pretty nasty. I know he had like the some. Did you see it?
It
Like
was a
some
brace.
big. Yeah.
Yeah,
Some big brace
a
type of
bulky
thing.
brace.
Yeah. So it was. Yeah. It looked pretty gross though when they showed it and stuff like that when he was running off the field. Yeah. You knew immediately that he broke his finger. So, but he did stay in there and he grinded it out, and that's usually what the good ones do.
Chris, I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo's cleared a concussion protocol yet.
From last I saw, I don't think so either.
And that
I
is a
mean,
little bit worse than because it is Wednesday.
yeah, I was
Tomorrow's
just about to
Thursday.
say. I was just about to say. I mean, the good thing is, obviously, we have Monday this week, right? So that gives a little bit more time. So usually, you're getting the updates on Thursdays and stuff for Sunday. So maybe we'll hear something on Friday a little
Chris,
bit more
we were
about him.
told that he was going to clear protocol last Thursday. Well, that didn't end up happening. So,
Yeah,
I mean, if it doesn't, we obviously know who's going to play on Monday Night Football, and that's going to be Aiden O'Connell.
yeah, yeah. I'm hoping though that
I'm
Jimmy's.
hoping Jimmy's back.
Yeah, I'm hoping Jimmy's back. We again, we have a couple days, but yeah, I mean, it is kind of worrisome that he said last week, and we're almost a week already
Chris,
from.
my question is, when
Yeah,
did he get the concussion? I mean, it was in the first half, I believe, was when he took that big hit, but then he came back
yeah.
and played.
He some people
So,
are saying that he could have been concussed at that point, basically, still, and that's kind of why he made some of those plays that he made. So
oh man, that's crazy.
that's from what I was hearing that
Yeah,
there's a possibility. You know how these guys are, man. I
yeah,
mean, they're football players, so they just they grind it out. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So they grind it out.
yeah. Hopefully, Jimmy's able to play on Monday night, though.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right, Chris, let's talk about Thursday Night Football. You have the Chicago Bears visiting the Washington Commanders. Obviously, Justin Fields played a lot better last weekend
Yeah.
against the Denver Broncos. He looked really good in the first half. Second half, he had a pick six, I believe it was, or a fumble, and
Mhm.
putting Denver essentially ahead, and they were able to pull up the victory. But to me, I mean, for a while, it looked like Denver was going to get blown out again.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I feel like we're talking about Sunday night football, right?
No, we're talking about the Broncos and the Bears. It was
Oh,
the earlier
Broncos and
game.
Bears.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I just still feel like Denver's not playing that well. I don't know, man. That's so crazy just to think about with Russell Wilson. I mean, his contract's not even going to start getting, it's not even going to start until literally next year, right? They're going to pay 5 years of what I can't even remember. It's over 40 million
I don't
dollars a
know if he's
year.
going to survive. To be honest with you,
I just don't think so either. I mean,
yeah,
it's insane to kind of see just how bad they've been playing, and I mean, and it's crazy because I've been hearing all these different stats as far as like how he's been playing, and his stats are very similar actually to what they were when
he's
he was
playing a
with the
lot better
Seahawks.
than yeah. Well,
Yeah,
he's playing a lot better than he did last year, especially
oh,
at home. So,
100%. Absolutely,
um,
100%. It's just that
yeah,
second half, he just continues to decline, right? He comes out and has a fantastic first half, and then his just second halves have just not kind of been there. So I don't know, man. It's kind of weird to judge to see specifically what's going to happen, but from some indications that I heard is that um, there's a chance that who knows if they make a coaching change, whether Sean leaves or not after this year is a
I don't think
possibility.
so.
And I mean, he could go back to the Saints. He could go back to the Saints. What if Dennis Allen? It just they're having a bad year. They're kind of
I think he's
struggling.
out next year, Chris. I don't think Dennis Allen is going to survive another year in New Orleans if they don't make the
Hey,
playoffs.
there was talks that Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis were having dinner a couple weeks back or something along those lines. On like whatever an off day or something like that. So you never know what can shape out. I mean, he may look at the situation in Denver and just be like, you know what, I want to go back to the Saints and restructure it there. He has some players and stuff like that in place. Derek Carr, right? Different guys like that. Chris Olave that are kind of, they're kind of set. They're going to be there. Where you don't know what you're going to get right now with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Chris, and then the last thing on the Broncos, they today they released Gregory, one of their
Yeah.
key offseason additions a couple years back,
hmm
um, for a lot of money.
Yeah. So I was reading it earlier. Me and you were talking. So base salary of 14 million this year, and will be fully guaranteed as well next year with an additional 5 million, so 19 million overall next year. And they paid him all this money, and he's played 10 games over the past 2 seasons. 10 games.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and I
Yeah, I
believe
mean
he had
that's
signed with he had agreed
that's
with the deal with Dallas, and then he went back and he signed with the Broncos. So
hmm yep. 10 games, 3 sacks, paid him, 14 million this year, 19 million next year.
well, it's a lot of money.
We'll see who won that one. We'll see who
Yeah,
won that one, huh?
yeah. But let's go back and let's talk about the Bears, Chris. I mean, obviously they're playing the Commanders tomorrow night, and there's been a lot of
Yeah.
rumors out there. They have a bye week next week, so
hmm
they're saying if Chicago loses tomorrow night, that Matt Eberflus, their head coach, is going to get fired. I don't know how true that
I
is, but
think,
that's the rumor that I've been seeing.
yeah, I mean, man, do you think it's all his fault? I guess you should say, start off with that. Do you feel like it's all his fault as the coach?
I mean, everybody has a part, right? Everybody has everybody has blame, but the scapegoat's going to be the head coach. And then look,
Yeah.
just this whole Chase Claypool deal, like it's just like what the hell is going on? I don't know if you saw it. Like,
There-
I think it was
yeah.
yesterday.
Oh, for sure.
He said that he was staying away from the
Yeah.
team, and yeah, it's crazy. But
hmm
look, if they fire him, they fire him, right? I mean, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah. I mean, gosh, I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah. I mean, the Bears, they've always been, a great organization, but they're just have not been winning for quite some time. Everyone's stuck on the 85 Bears, right? So, but I don't know, I think everybody deserves some blame here. Justin Fields has obviously not been playing very well too. I mean, there's a lot of tape out there that's pretty well known across the internet. You know,
Yeah,
um, his line is giving him some time at sometimes, and
yeah,
he just can't. He's not processing the game fast enough. There's just
yeah,
no anticipation as far as
at
throws,
all.
and yeah, and I just think he's just holding the ball very a lot, and he's just his reads. He's just running right through his reads, not seeing it ahead of time, and he's having to obviously use his feet. But I mean, there's only so much he can do, and I just think right now we talked
I
about
don't
Aiden
blame him for
O'Connell.
everything though, Chris.
No, not everything, absolutely not. And I mean, I think the other thing is too is there's so much stuff surrounding the organization, like you say, Chase Claypool, whatever situation he's going through, staying away from the team. It the quarterback needs someone to catch the ball. I mean, obviously it's Bladen, right? You have DJ Moore, but I mean Claypool, could have been another guy there. This team looked great coming in on paper. I was high on them, and just kind of throughout the 4 weeks that we've seen them so far. I mean, they have not looked good at all.
No, so Sam Howell for the Commanders, he's looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Almost led the Commanders to a comeback win last week against the Eagles. Like I'm
hmm
taking the Commanders to win tomorrow night. Who are you
Yep.
taking?
I got the Commanders, man. I like their running game as well, right? I like they're splitting backfield with Brian Robinson and remind me the other
Antonio Gibson.
Antonio Gibson, yep. And I just like the way they're running the ball, and I think that's allowing Sam Howell to be um, more of a kind of a game manager a little bit, where he makes the big throws when he needs to make the big throws, but it's not just all on him. I like the Commanders tomorrow, man. Their defense has been playing well as well.
Yep. And Chris, I'm on the show on this note, or this question, I guess I'm going to ask you.
Hmm.
Does Iberflus get fired tomorrow night or during the bye week?
I think he gets fired during the bye week. I think it's
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I mean, I think it's time. There needs to just be a change there, and there's been question marks for the past couple years. What were they going to do with Justin Fields, right? Coming into
Yeah.
this coming draft, they ended up keeping him, surrounding him with some talent. We've kind of seen what it looks like. It may not just be a good fit for him there. Maybe they just need to start going in some different directions as an organization.
The Bears have never fired a coach in season, so this would be the first time.
Mm,
I think it's going to happen. I
I
really
think
do.
it is.
I
Yeah,
think I think he's lost the team a little bit.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's time. I mean, I think it's time. We saw a bunch of different reports on what's going on inside the locker room. Some stuff is not going on right. So, where do you look at? Like you said, it starts with the leadership. It starts with the head coach. So there's a good chance he's probably going to get fired here very soon.
Yeah, Chris. Actually, I did have another thing I wanted to talk about. The
Yeah,
Sunday
yeah.
night football game this week.
Hmm.
Dallas Cowboys going to Santa Clara to play the Niners. A big game.
Yep. I mean, I flat out, I like the 49ers. I like the 49ers, man. They've been my number one team in the power rankings now for the past 3-4 weeks, I believe
Yep.
now, and it's just hard for me to continue to get off the team. They've shown me all the things that they need to show me right now. I mean, defense has been absolutely outstanding. We've talked about Brock Purdy, a couple of different episodes as far as his, how he's throwing the ball, how he's, running the offense. Obviously, CMC is absolutely amazing back there, and they look great, man. They look like they're a full go, and I feel like there's still another gear in there, and that's what you want as a team, going into later on in the season and going into playoffs. So the fact that they're not peaking yet is a great thing for them.
One of two undefeated teams in the NFL. The other one is the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll see what happens Sunday night. On that
Hmm.
note, we're going to end tonight's show. Thank you, everyone out there, for watching and listening. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll talk to you guys soon.